Every healthy company, large and small, in any industry, has to have a mission statement. It doesn't have to put it out in public, but there has to be an understanding of what it is that you're trying to achieve. Morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. It's not that I want to find out what the Penguins are going to be all about in the 2024-25 season. I feel like I've got a grip on it. I feel like most everyone who'd be listening to a program called Daily Shot of Penguins in the month of August would have a grip on it. The people I believe that wouldn't have that same level of understanding, is a lot more than the number listening to this thing in August. And I believe that that's going to be a problem for this franchise sooner rather than later. Throw out a hypothetical here. You looked at the schedule. It starts off a little bit tough. Rangers are here for the opener. It's at PPG Paints Arena on my birthday, actually, the 9th of October. After that, there's a trip to Detroit, then Toronto, then Montreal. 3 games on the road right away. A couple of those are tough opponents. The last one against the Canadiens is against a team that always gives the Penguins trouble, even when they stink. And I'll stop right there. There's a Buffalo and a Carolina and so forth, and then comes Western Canada. So if things don't start out well, if there are all kinds of feelings resuscitated from not so much the last month of last season, but all the rest of it, the first 5 months, I think this team's going to be treated pretty badly locally. For those of you who are regulars at the arena or season ticket holders, I think you're going to know what I'm talking about, because if you remember the way the power play in particular was being, it wasn't even so much booed, but like over the final 2-3 months of the season, it was just getting yelled at. Now, see, if you were there, you know what I mean. It wasn't just boo, you stink, or shoot, or whatever. It was do something, you miscreants. And it was really loud and really nasty, unlike anything you heard at that building since it went up. And at least some of that, I believe, is fueled by this general sense of decline, meaning every year you're going to watch this team, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. Why? Because the main guys are going to keep getting older and older. So the first thing that everybody advocates is get rid of the old guys, replace them with young guys so that we can at least have hope. We can start over. We can end the decline. And this is where I believe that the mission statement element can enter the equation. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today, or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. This is boring, and I'm not going to bore you with it, meaning the mission statement concept. But it basically comes down to 2, 3, 4 sentences where you might just share this internally. You might not share it with anybody. You might just rely on it yourself in running the company, saying this is what we strive to be. This is our purpose. This is our way of going about things. Well, if I'm Kyle Dubas, and this goes way more for him than it does for Kevin Acklin, because this is much, much more of a hockey thing that leads into the business thing. I've got to do a really good job of letting people know what it is that I'm trying to do. Because on one hand, when you say we're doing what we can to get Sidney Crosby another cup, but also we're building for the future and we're not going to give up draft picks or prospects in the process, even if it isn't intended to be disingenuous, it can sound that way. Oh, so you're appeasing Sid, which is a terrible message to, even if you're not sending it out that way, to have it received that way. You don't want people thinking that you're just trying to keep Sid happy for a couple of years. He doesn't deserve that. He actually deserves to be competing for more cups. What I would do, and nobody's going to ask me, but I'll share it with you. I would put together, first off, out of the public view, a mountain of evidence to show that true rebuilds are not necessary in the salary-capped NHL. You know why? They aren't. Not everybody needs a decade and a half like the Red Wings have taken. Not everybody is way too slow in reacting to actual structural changes in the league, in the way the game is played, the way the Blackhawks and the Kings were. The model that I keep citing here, and that's because I believe in it, is in Boston. The Bruins did this better than anybody. The Bruins had their cup years. The Bruins had their time where they had their own core, and those guys stuck it out. They were there, well, I don't want to say all of them, till the very end. Zdeno Chara ended up bouncing around a couple other places, but Tuukka Rask stayed. Patrice Bergeron stayed. Brad Marchand is still there. David Pastrnak. All they did was they kept their assets, and they kept acquiring new draft picks and pumping people through their system and bringing up the random Charlie McAvoy and hitting it big on a couple of those. Rask was gone, and along came Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman. They're not going to replace all of those guys, and we saw that this past season without Bergeron. It's just not the same Boston team. But did you look at them, especially through the regular season, and say, wow, that's a team that just can't possibly win? Of course not. Of course not. That's what has to happen here. First, come up with the evidence. First, come up with the examples, the data. Then bring it out, and bring it out with a sledgehammer. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Ben, who says, hey, DK, are calendars being cleared for the inevitable extension of Sidney Crosby's contract on Wednesday? I'm not going to lie, Ben, when I first saw this, it took me at least a few seconds. What? What's he talking about Wednesday? Did I miss something? Is there an announcement? Whatever? Oh, Wednesday. Of course, it's 8/7. And the world's most superstitious human, who was born on 8/7/87, who for his most recent contract signed a 13-year term in which he would be paid exactly $8.7 million each year, would be exactly that guy who would have a major signing tomorrow. And yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. But you want to know the one thing that makes me a little bit cringy about a concept like that, meaning having to cover a press conference like that? Somebody's got to be the one in the room to ask the big question. And there's not any question I'm ever afraid to ask in such a setting, but at the same time, it just feels distasteful, bordering on disrespectful to ask Sid, hey, Sid, could this be your last contract? Are you viewing this as your last contract? Are you done when these, and I'm being hypothetical here, 3 years are up? It's got to be asked. And at the same time, you know he's not going to sit there and say, yeah, that's it. That's absolutely it. Because he'd be declaring his retirement 3 years out, which would be really strange. As it is, of course, the day that Sid signs his extension, and he absolutely will, and he commits himself to playing in Pittsburgh until age 40, that's a good day. That's what Badger Bob would say is a great day for hockey in Pittsburgh. That's presenting a scenario for everybody here to be able to celebrate his career in its entirety, but also to close it out properly, to do all the stuff that you'd want to do as it winds down. And you know what? Best of all, best of all, and you know I'm going to be right about this, he's going to be great the whole way. He has no chance of not being great. He's not wired that way. He'll find a way to put himself in the best possible position to be the player we just saw this past season. Yet again, one of the top 10 in the league. And as I often say in my written columns about Sid, I'll often end them by saying never, ever take him for granted, Pittsburgh. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everyone who listens to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.